Hi and welcome to a new episode of Sprue Talk. Today I'm joined by Gary of Gary Stuff YouTube channel, Moz of Moz6510.
6510 models.
That's it.
Yes.
So I was right.
You were right.
On YouTube. And Stu Phone, who is the editor of Airfix Model World, the monthly magazine. So welcome, chaps. Thanks very much for coming along.
Pleasure.
I know Margate is at the end of the world before you get your feet wet and nip over to France. So it's a long old way for all of you. So thanks very much for coming down.
Pleasure.
I thought it'd be really good to sit here today and sort of talk about what got us into modelling and why we still do it and what inspired us then and what inspires us now to go and buy the next thing or model the next thing or change subject, because we don't all model the same subject matter all the time. I know you guys don't, through choice or not through choice, Stu through work and the magazine, etc. etc. So that's really what it would be really cool to talk about. So let's start us off. I mean, Gary, how did you get into modelling? Can you remember how old you were? Do you remember what your first kit was?
It was probably like the majority of model makers, an Airfix Spitfire, and about when I was 6, I guess, and just really got hooked by it.
Yeah.
I can remember at one point there was the famous black Lancaster and Sterling kits were out, and they cost 10 shillings and sixpence. It was that long ago, pre-decimalised money, and my allowance for Christmas present was 10 shillings, and there was a lot of negotiation in November and December to get the extra sixpence so I could have my Lancaster, and by the end of Boxing Day it was built.
Oh,
I
amazing.
absolutely loved it.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
So that was the one moulded in black?
Yes. Yeah. Yeah, the really old school one. Yeah. With all the crew in it and everything else. The whole lot been built and painted by the end of Boxing Day.
And that was the beginning of... Did you ever stop modelling when
Oh,
you got
yeah.
to a certain age?
Yeah,
Or then...
between probably about 17 through to about 6 or 7 years ago. I don't think I made a single kit.
Oh, wow.
Life just got in the way.
Yeah.
Other things got in the way. And maybe it wasn't... I didn't feel it was quite cool enough at the time. In the stupidity of my youth, the rashness of my youth. But then there was another Airfix Spitfire kit was given away with a national newspaper. They said, go get to Smith's this weekend, you can pick up this. He must have had so many of them shipped over or whatever, desperate to get rid of them. Gave them away. My wife,
We do sell it.
we sell them. My wife went and got one and said, oh, the grandchildren could do this. I said, oh, they can't, I'm having that. And built it. And that was it, I was back on it again. And within a year, I'd started doing a blog. And within about 2 or 3 years later, I started a YouTube channel.
So that was pre-COVID then?
Yeah.
That's
Yeah,
cool.
the channel is COVID inspired, as it were. It was created because of COVID. But I was modelling before that, so I was doing a blog.
Yeah, amazing. Because we always look at COVID as a sort of a point in time internally of so many more people getting into modelling and actually lowering that second age group. When people come back into modelling, we used to say it was sort of mid-50s, so then COVID happened and it jumped right down. And that's testament really to what we say internally. You know, COVID happened. And then people start getting back into modelling.
Although I was slightly more than mid-50s when COVID happened, so yeah, I don't quite skew into that lower end.
I was trying to be polite, Gary, but
very kind of you.
Yeah.
How about you, Moz? You remember your first kit? How you got into it?
Well, I got into a weird kind of scale modelling. My mother worked for a train accessory company. So she used to be on the machines with the injection mouldings, taking them out, putting them in a bag, packaging them and shipping them all over the world. So she used to come home with just clear bags of sprues and instructions. I used to have to go through the catalogue of this company and what's that one there, is it? And then use the picture and to build it. So I got into that, and then I think my father got a Mini for me to build, and I built that, and then it was a lorry, and then because I was a massive space nerd, it was I'm sure it was the Revell Columbus space shuttle.
Yeah.
Columbia space shuttle, and that was it then for me. But it was rubbish. rubbish. You know, I painted it with whatever paints I had around the house. We didn't have Hornby paint, Humble paint or anything like that, or any enamels. It was just what I found around the house.
Yeah.
And that was it really. And then again, about the age of 14, 15, situation changed. So the railway was put away. And then I came back into scale modelling, what was it, about 30 years old, I think it was. So there's like a 15-year gap. And that was just because one day I went into a shop and there was a starter set there. Boom. Looked into it again. And there wasn't much YouTube then, really, I don't think either. So, and then buying the books, I got Jonathan Mock's book on how to do scale modelling, and that basically where it came from there. And I've never been so poor since. I think I was a lot richer before I was a scale. Do you know what I mean? The stash is massive.
The YouTube, you mentioned YouTube now, so
Yeah.
the number of modelers now on YouTube is amazing. And you've got loads of different types of channel, and it's all scale modelling. I'm not going to try and even attempt to list them all off the top of my head now, but you've got some really high-end guys that do all the dioramas, they build the vehicles, the aircraft, or whatever, but it's as much that as it is the dioramas that they set it in. Absolutely incredible things. You guys review the products, you build them as well in separate videos. You talk about the news, the industry bits and pieces, which is amazing. So I always look at YouTube as a sort of form of modelling magazine now, but also the way that the community is coming into modelling so much more than when I joined the brand in 2008. We were talking to modelling magazines and forums. And now it's so much more than that, with YouTube on board and even TV shows and other bits and pieces and the events that we all go to now, and there's more modelling shows now than there seems to have ever been previously, which is amazing that everyone's coming together. And I used to say closet modellers, but
Yeah,
I don't.
I've heard that before.
Yeah, but there doesn't
and
seem
we've
to
all
be.
come out.
Yeah,
You know what I mean?
but there doesn't seem to be as much of that now as there was previously. Like everyone seems to be really happy about saying, "Oh, I make plastic model kits," without feeling some sort of shame to it or something. But
there's been celebrities who've come out of it. I mean, I think it's Guillermo del Toro famously builds models. And in fact, one of his films, he got half of the stars were also models.
Yeah.
Then you've got Henry Cavill, who does his wargaming.
Yeah.
There's Al Murray.
Yeah, Al Murray as well.
Big modeler as well.
Yeah.
James May, of course, makes models quite often. I always forget his name, but the guy that Spandau Ballet guy, Gold, the same guy.
Oh, Martin.
No, not Martin Kemp. The guy that actually sang it. Forgot his name.
Simon, no.
This is a terrible video, guys. We're trying to.
I can see it.
This is like another version of Never Mind the Buzzcocks.
Yeah, that's it. Yeah. It's like humming the tune. Bom, 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 bom.
Anyway, there's loads of celebrity
Tony
models.
Hadley.
Tony Hadley.
That's it. Thank you, Gary. I know. I was looking at you because
Child of
you
the
are
80s, I know. That was my era, I know.
you are the man of song puns and things. So of course,
Tony
and if you don't get that reference, go and watch some of Gary's Monday Matters. But so there's loads of celebrities, isn't there, that get into it and that seem to make it a more acceptable thing. But even saying that feels wrong because, of course, it's an acceptable hobby to get into. But
I think also because the quality of the kits has improved so much over what we remember, certainly in our years, model kits were more toys.
Yeah.
I mean, you look at that first Blackburn Buccaneer you did, you actually, you could pull the wings out to fold them and things like that, which you wouldn't do on a model now. You'd either have it down or you'd have the wings up. There wouldn't be a concession to that utility. It would have to be quite accurate. So I think model making has got more of a craft feel to it, a more, I don't know if it's respect necessarily, whether we're still viewed as geeks and nerds in sheds or whatever, but I think the products that come out are so much more detailed and so much more intricate. There's an appreciation of the skill that must necessarily go into making something like that, rather than you've made it for your son or your granddaughter or whatever to play with.
Yeah.
I think there's a very different perception of model making.
That side of things was arguably what got me into it, into the hobby. I mean, I started out with, I think it was a Concorde, the Sky King series,
Yeah.
at 6. The one I definitely remember is the MRCA with the red, white and black scheme. Of course, that had the moving wings, although I needed a wee bit of help to unglue the wings after I accidentally glued them.
Yeah.
But it was the Buccaneer was one of those early ones, and I mean back then that was all we had really. But the playability for a 6-7-year-old was ideal. It was great fun.
They were designed as toys then,
Yeah.
not the sort of professional models that we look at it as them now, really.
Some companies had them more towards the detail side. Monogram was the big player back then. But yeah, most Airfix and Matchbox and Revell, they were all the play type. It was great fun.
Yeah.
Well, that's why they had the different colours, wasn't it? You
Oh.
didn't have to play. You didn't have to really paint them.
Oh, that was good fun.
But I did a meme. I think it was about 2 years ago, didn't I? And I had a pie chart, and I said scale modelling in the 1980s and scale modelling now. And scale modelling in the 1980s was basically build, paint, decal, and you were done. But now it's photo etch, it's weathering, and I think that's why the rise of, with raised panel lines and recessed panel lines, I think raised panel lines look good if you just painted it. But because we want to weather and do all sorts with panel lines, we now insist on recessed. I think that's a big thing I've seen. That's one of the changes. Do you kind of agree on that?
I mean, to a degree. I mean, part of it was the moulding technology back then, but it's not just recessed panel lines where you can get that sort of effect. I've seen quite a few articles where they've taken an old kit with raised panel lines, and it's you put a more modern kit with recessed panel lines against it, and you'd be hard to tell the difference.
You can't tell the difference, yeah.
But it's just down to what you're prepared to go with.
But it's always a negative when you see, somebody say, oh, it's got raised panel lines. It's always looked as a negative. I've seen,
It's the
but
modeller's,
it's
the modeller's choice. It also depends on the aircraft or whatever the subject matter is. I know we had a lot about raised or recessed rivets with the Sea King. But then at 48 scale, when you actually stand back from it, you wouldn't know. But I don't think you could tell whether they were raised, and also you couldn't get the same number of rivets if they were raised because the way that the tooling is made. So you'd have less rivets, which just looks weird. Whereas if you have the recessed ones, they're all in. You put a wash or whatever in, and away you go. But I always say that, and it's majorly cliche. Please don't let that be me, but that's got to be you, isn't it?
I have honestly, this new iPhone.
First thing I did.
Other phones are available.
Yeah. No, because
We're not cutting that out.
They don't have that switch anymore, do they? You've got to actually. They don't have that clicker anymore. You've got to actually physically. Yeah.
Oh, it's a hard life.
It is.
It is. Yeah.
Yeah.
Having to swipe down and go.
It's not a swipe.
It's an iPhone.
Yeah. Doesn't have that silence clicker switch anymore. You've got to.
But I always say about modelling, it's ultimately what you want. It's what you make it. And I know it's a massive sort of cliche or cheese or whatever. But if you're not bothered about the recessed panel lines or raised panel lines, but you just want to sit there and enjoy a couple of hours or however long model making, then you've got just as much out of that as someone that wants to sit there and rescribe stuff and then paint it and then add all the etch parts on or whatever. As long as you enjoy it.
It is supposed to be fun.
It doesn't matter.
I think a lot of people every now and again forget that it is actually supposed to be fun. We're not doing brain surgery here. We're not solving international peace problems. We're sticking bits of plastic to other bits of plastic, and it's a relaxation and it's a joy, and it gives us a better mental health. But the whole point of that is it should be fun. So don't knock yourself if you see some magazines online and all that. You see some astonishing work, and I sit there thinking, I'll never ever be able to make a model as good as that, but I'm really happy with what I do, and that's what's key. And I think that should be anyone who picks up their first starter set Spitfire or whatever. They paint it with a brush, and they're looking at things. It's not quite as neat as that one I saw, or it's not quite. But you know what? It goes on my mantelpiece. If someone says, "Oh, did you make that?" and yeah, actually I did, and they feel proud. Job done. That's what it should be about.
Yeah.
Still.
It's
we
getting
do
the
lose
variety.
track of that sometimes. You know.
It's providing that variety. You've got that, if you like, there's the high end with greeblies and everything. And then you go through the middle bit where people just start going, oh, I've done this. Can I do a bit of weathering? Can I do a bit of PE or different decals? But right back at the beginning, you know. And sometimes you come across, oh well, this type of paint you can't use because it's not very good. We actually did a series where we took a starter set, and apart from cheating later on where I used varnish to help the decals go down, everything came out of that starter set. So that was the original Humbrol paint, the acrylic, that's supposedly impossible to use. It's quite easy if you thin it, and on it goes. And it was great fun.
You must. We're basically talking. We're getting on the verge of talking about modelling fatigue as well, aren't we? Because you, Stu, obviously you guys you've got YouTube channels to keep going, and the best way of doing that is new content on a regular basis, which must be really tough for you guys. But Stu, you're constantly writing articles and stuff for the magazine, but you're a modeller at heart as well, aren't you? So what do you do? Do you ever get modeller fatigue? Do you ever sort of sit back and go, well, actually, I know the answer to this because I've seen you after quite a. I bought you. I think I seem to remember buying you a coffee because you looked so bad. But how do you deal with that, Stu? Because you can't just stop it for a couple of weeks because your job relies on it. So
sometimes it's easy to separate work from home. In that I will obviously for the magazine. In the main, it's aircraft, and I dabble in the occasional bit of armour and the odd ship. So, if I'm suffering from fatigue, I'll either take a break at home and maybe look at trying to plan out a next couple of projects, or I'll just pick up something completely random. So that could be a sci-fi ship or a submarine or whatever, and I'll just have a go at making it. I might not do a brilliant job of it, but it's something that will just get my the modelling mojo going, and I'm back into it. A recent one was literally just taking an old Focke-Wulf 190 kit. And what was the other one? I think it was an F9 Panther. Just got me going. Oh, made a mistake there. That went wrong. Fair dues, but it's got me back into the flow. So it's taking mini breaks because I've not had a huge break like these guys. I started at 6, and apart from the odd maybe 3 to 6 month break here and there due to various things like work or whatever, I've pretty much been doing it for almost 50 years. So.
Wow.
And yet you're the way that you get over modelling fatigue is to keep modelling. Or plan your next load of modelling.
Yeah, but I literally trying something completely different. So I'll I got maxed out by a huge build. Right, well, I'll plan a couple of small builds and I'll go and do those small builds because it's a bit of achievement. Yeah, great. I got across the finish line. It might not be the best, but it was done. I think it was a development Apache was the actual one I did after the incident involving the coffee, but that got me back into doing it. But in terms of actually reviewing it, it's actually quite simple because all you do is you just say, right, I'm taking away any logos or any. What have I got in the box? Is it good? Is it bad? Does it look right? Can I see any issues with it? That side of things is actually easy to compartmentalise and just put to one side.
Yeah.
But fatigue over building, sometimes, it's a 2 or 3 month break.
So would you touched on how you started modelling there in your first kit, etc. So do you think that modelling steered your early days modelling steered your career in what you went off and did, being ex-forces, and then what you do now, or do you think you would have still ended up doing?
I think the forces side was I was just crazy about aircraft. So joining the RAF was seemed the next step to go down. I mean, for me, it was the big inspiration on the aircraft side was actually a very famous shot of a Harrier GR3 loosening off rockets. I think it was over Hull Beach or one of the ranges. It was like, oh yeah, that's cool. But as for my current job, that was a fluke. Just as I was leaving the RAF, I was about to start my resettlement work, and I had to stop it for a couple of reasons. And then just as I was about to restart it, I got a phone call from Key Publishing, because I'd done a couple of builds for them, and they said, "Do you want to interview for this job?"
Wow.
So ambled along, suddenly finding out that a place I'd driven past for 2 years and hadn't realised it was the place I was going for an interview.
Wow.
Literally 15-minute walk from my house. And after that, started as the assistant, and then when Chris moved across to Fly Past, I
took on the
sat in
full
seat
reins.
and went,
Yeah.
oh my god.
What would what sort of modelling inspires you now, guys? Because Gary, do you make aircraft as the norm?
Most of my kits are aircraft.
I was going to say, I always remember.
Or most of them are. There's a few vehicles now and again. Don't do much ships. Although I did do the Devonshire, which was a lot of fun.
Yeah.
To actually do a sea diorama for the first time
That
as
was
well, which
cool.
was really quite fun to do. So I'm going to later in the year up the game with that maybe a bit for one of the lifeboats. A little bit more, sort of try and get more dynamic water effects and things like that around that. But most of it's aircraft, because that's always been my love, aircraft.
So do you get inspired to do your next aircraft kit because of a certain decal scheme, or a bit of footage you've seen, or a photo in a magazine?
How honest do you want me to be?
Absolutely.
It's whatever's just been released, or whatever I've just been sent.
Cool.
Either by a manufacturer or by one of the viewers, or something's come out and I think I need to get a build video of that up as soon as I can. So that's the actual choice of kits really is slightly out of my control in a lot of ways. And the only time I actually decide to make something specific is, again, this thing of compartmentalising. What I do as YouTube is my job. Yeah. It's my work. I have to view it as work, otherwise you can't do it properly. As properly as I do anyway. But then every now and again I just think I need to build something just for me and just not have a camera right in front of my face all the time looking at what I'm doing. And so I'll build something. I've got a couple of tiny little 144th scale amphibious assault vehicle, marine vehicles. They cost like £4 each or something. There's like 8 parts each. They're really actually nice. And they're going into a tiny little beach diorama. But it's things, none of that's going on the channel. No. It's just for me to clear my head, to get some creativity about something I really want to do. And then I get back to doing whatever I'm supposed to be doing that week, or what kit I got to open that week or whatever.
Yeah. How about you, Moz? Is your modelling driven by the latest releases and things?
A lot of the reviews are, but there are some that I think I'm not going to build that. I put it, I'm happy to do a review, do an unboxing, and put it aside to another day. I break mine up. I'm quite fortunate that I have a group of YouTubers that come on and we chat on a Monday night. That's really good. And also I've got like a little Substack now where I write articles loosely around scale modelling, but it's more opinionated pieces. And but for me, scale modelling is that place where you shut the door and get on and do something. And yeah, if you worry about I'm with Gary on this, because you worry more about the shot than you do of actually painting the model and putting it together sometimes. And it is nice just to put that camera arm away and just get on and build something. And there's been a few that I've done where I've not filmed it, I've just gone in. I did Hazigal eggplane the other day, and that was brilliant. Just a bit of fun, a little flanker. Flanker, and come with it, but did some masking of it and just sprayed it up using certain techniques and paints, and that was it for me. I didn't do a video on it, and as I said, you do get fatigue sometimes from, and I've always said that if a kit takes me more than 2 weeks, I get bored. And I've spoken to a few people about it. They all say the same. Sometimes there's kits that are just so engrossed after 2 weeks, they do end up being on the shelf, then maybe come back to retrieve it another time. But yeah, I'm somebody who likes to get into a build, get it done, and then move on to the next one.
I would say we all do, I'm sure, remember that we're actually quite lucky to make a business out of this, because there's a lot worse jobs in the world. Yeah, basically. So yeah, we do have to work long hours. I probably work more hours now than I've worked in my entire life for anyone. Some of my former employers might say, well, there's a surprise, but there we go. I'm doing like 60, 70 hours a week quite often. But it's fun and it's good, and you know, it's helpful to me. And if it's helpful to other people, that's even better. But it's certainly very helpful to me
that balance
to keep going.
That balance.
But it's not working down on mine, not working for the NHS. We're quite lucky to be able to sit in a room. So you know, don't want to sound like we're complaining too much, because we're not.
No, absolutely.
You know,
I don't think anyone would think that at all. It's interesting to see the people behind the cameras. I know you guys always do stuff face the camera as well, but just, you know, I'm sure there's a lot of viewers that are that get that modelling fatigue. They lose their modelling mojo. They're not sure how to get out of it. Is it because they've been building something for 2 weeks, which is a subject matter that they really want to do and they think it's so cool, but they just because the build's too big. And I've had that before. I took one of our 35th scale Brumbar kits home, the German tank, and I started building it, and it's still, I'm not sure if I even got halfway through it, but I just ran out of time on that day, and then I've just never felt compelled to pick it up again. But I have done modelling since, done some of our 72nd scale starter set tanks, because in the space of 3 hours, I can build it. I can take it out in the garden. I can rattle can, spray it green or whatever. I can then let it dry. I can do a bit of weathering, decals or whatever, and then job done. And I've got more satisfaction out of that over, say, 3 hours, 4 hours than I would have done half building something that's still sat there. But ultimately, I might as well put it in the bin now, because I've actually lost loads of parts for it. But
there's also a little bit of shiny thing syndrome. You sit there, you're working away, you're doing something, you look up and, oh, shiny thing. Oh, I'll start that tomorrow.
Yeah.
So I end up with like 6 or 7 projects on the go quite often.
Yeah, that's the worst.
And you do sort of forget some of them, because I really want to get, that's really interesting, and you've done that, and but the rest of it's like slightly less tedious model making. But this thing now, I need to really do some work on it. It's really easy to drop a project a little bit more than you should do. Every now and again, it's right, like, come on, Gary, get your act together, get that finished, get the video done, get it edited and done, then it's not on your shelf anymore. You do have it all the time.
Yeah, you guys must have half-built stuff all over the place.
I've got a pocket kit that's still in the front room from Christmas. I've not gone back to. I can't. Yeah, let's not go there.
No, because the brand lives in these 4 walls as well.
Yeah, that Lamborghini. God.
They're amazing things, those pocket kits are amazing, but
they are amazing.
Not, it's sort of
There's
boxes just over there, but they're modelling, but not modelling. If you know what I mean. You don't have to paint anything, do you?
You don't have to. You can do. Mine was just an out of the box build, and I had to get it done before Christmas. I think they said you could build it in 24 hours. I had 5 days, and I was live streaming every day, 5-6 hour streams. There was no way I was going to do it before Christmas. And when Christmas came, and I just picked it up, put it to the side, and it's sitting in my front room now collecting dust, with its back end still half hanging off. So, but that was fatigue, because that was just a lot of screwing, gluing, getting bits wrong because the instructions were wrong.
But that'd be an amazing thing to go back to.
It will. Yeah, I've got a plan. Probably in the summer. I've got 2 weeks off in the summer, and I'm going to go back to it.
Yeah.
And then get it live streamed, filmed to get it done. And also because Nigel's modelling bench has got one now, so I've got to get it done before he finishes it. It's like, you know, but yeah, it's but that was a different kind of scale model building that I've ever done.
Yeah.
There was, there is super glue involved. There's a lot of, screwing, fitting. Interesting. There was no gluing of glass. It's all done with the double-sided tape that comes with it.
Yep.
Metal stickers, decals, all this. But don't get me wrong. I've seen the pictures of what it looks like when it's been finished. 1:8 scale. It's a beast.
Yeah. 8. Yeah.
1:8 scale. It is. Yeah.
Yeah.
It is.
I'm not desperately trying to squint and look at the really small text on that box, but yeah.
But yeah, there's the actual metalwork in it is sublime.
Yeah.
The finish is good.
Yeah.
But
How about you, Stu? Do you have a choice in not being able to finish stuff? For the magazine, I guess. Are you guilty of going? I'm just going to move the pages around a little bit and not include that because I just haven't got the.
I've occasionally had to push something back a month because I've just run out of steam. But like I said, I try to separate the builds for the mag from the other side. So generally, if I've started a kit for the mag, it'll be done. I think there's one I haven't finished, and that's because I decided to start scratch building a whole load of extra detail, and basically just ground myself into the floor over. Oh, how do I do this tiny little thing? It's on a Warrior. That's about the only one I didn't get done. But on my personal hobby side, I used to say I had a shelf of shame. I've probably got a couple of cupboards of shame of unfinished projects, and it's just sometimes I've been hit by the shiny thing, but sometimes it's just been life's got in the way.
Yeah.
And when I've come back to it, it's like, okay, yeah, I don't feel like doing that right now. But some of them I've started picking up, so I'm retrieving from the shelf of doom. So
I guess that's another positive of modelling is that it gives you that choice, doesn't it? You can just leave them, but you have so much choice out there. Not just obviously the Airfix brand, but so many other brands out there, and the subject types. And Moz, you talk about space a lot, and I remember you calling me out in front of 200 people about space.
It was shocking. And this goes to any scale model manufacturer. We're in one of the biggest space races since we went to the moon. We're going to go to Mars, and we were building stuff that was fictional as well, collecting stuff that was fictional, and I think there's a market there for it. But it's difficult because you have I understand. You've got to go to what the market, what the business requires. But yeah, it's such a shame when you've got there's 4 different rockets now, isn't there? You've got SpaceX, you've got the Amazon guys one. You could go through the lot, and even so, there's not a decent Soyuz out there really. I don't think. I'm trying to think. The latest one was. No, it wasn't. There was the Mia, I think.
there was a resin.
Yeah, there's a resin one.
There's a resin one, but I think.
Yeah, but Soyuz has been taking people to the space station for years and years, and nobody's told it. And you think, well, why not?
Do you think that's because we were talking earlier about model kits being toys before a highly detailed model, which is what they are now seen as, is a highly detailed model, and if it isn't a highly detailed model, God, we find out very quickly. Do you think that because of that shift, and it could be design brief drift, nothing ever intentional to take it away from it being a toy, but because we can, sometimes companies are guilty of just because we can doesn't mean we should, and before you know it, you've added all this detail to something, and you're now replicating the real to such high levels that when you have today's space race, for example, and because those rockets are changing all of the time, that companies are perhaps a little bit standoffish from doing something right now because next month SpaceX will bolt something else on and have some more wings for it or something.
I don't think so. I think Dragon's pretty standard now, isn't it? The Dragon capsule, there's 2 types. There's one that takes the load up, and there's those who take up the astronauts. But the actual rocket itself is basically designed, and then if they want I'm trying to think of the name of it now, but they have the Falcon Falcon rocket. Well, it's Falcon Heavy. All they've got is just 3 in a row, isn't it? I don't know what it is, but I think there's a challenge there, and it doesn't necessarily have to be exact. I think there could be more fantasy in it as well, or what if. The space station's had more stuff put to it now, so even the Revell kit's inaccurate now to the space station, isn't it?
Don't think that was based on what they projected it was going to look like. It never actually looked.
It never actually looked like it, but
you just see a bright dot in the sky.
Yeah, that's it.
That's it.
But I think the one big thing with spacecraft now, and it's something that certainly wasn't an issue in the 70s when Airfix, Revell and all those were bringing out space shuttles and 7.5s, and even I think Vostok that Airfix brought out, is licensing. Now, if you want to build a space launch system, you've got to go and get permission off the various people who build the rocket, the stack, and the capsule, all of which adds a huge amount to the cost. And I think that will potentially put companies off. I don't know what it's like with their competitor systems, but the one thing that does surprise me, and that Moz raised, was you don't see much of the Russian or Chinese projects. So I think they're still using a variation of the Salyut system, but yeah, it would be cool to see one.
Yeah,
But
quite.
and whether you'd run into the same licensing issues, I don't know.
Well, there's one on Timu at the moment for the Falcon for 90 quid, but I don't think it's plastic.
Also, to be honest, I think back in the day it was a space race. It's conceived as a race. It was us against the Reds sort of thing.
Yeah.
It was glorified, and then I really don't think there's that much interest in space anymore. NASA certainly feel it. A guy I know who worked there, he's got a teenage son, and he was talking about something with him and said, "Oh, it's really space age," and his son, what you mean old-fashioned? Because to him, the space age was the early 70s of Apollo. You look at the TV viewing figures from Apollo 11 to Apollo 17, the Apollo 17 barely got a mention on TV. It was almost routine. And now, with the shuttle as it was, although 1 in 72 chance of not coming back, it was still a risky thing. When they were running regularly the Soyuz missions from Kazakhstan, obviously for various reasons that ain't happening anymore. But even using SpaceX and things like that, it's so relatively routine. And people say, we're going to go to Mars. It's like, why? Why are we doing that then?
Yeah.
Rather than we're going to the moon, yes, because we want to be there first to plant the flag and da. I think there's a lot less interest in it because also the robotic missions do so well that why are we sending people there? We've got all these pictures, we've got a helicopter on Mars, for goodness sakes. Why do we need to send people up there?
I wonder if
at this cost.
Yeah, but we want to be a multi-planetary society.
Yeah.
But the thing is, I disagree because as somebody who's into space, when we were trying to get when SpaceX was putting the Demo 2 to get astronauts up to the space station, the first mission, YouTube went massive, and I mean people were copying the feeds of SpaceX, so you could watch it from all these different channels, because they were proud that they were able to get people back up into space because the shuttle system had been stopped, and it was a huge commercial success.
they still do that now. There's loads
Yeah.
of streams for it.
Every time they do it now, even the non-commercial trips, I've been watching them as well. I'm really into it.
I wonder. You were saying about putting a man on the moon, and
a woman on the moon.
well, that'd be great.
Yeah.
But a person,
An astronaut.
an astronaut. But within marketing, there's a thing called golden thread, and it's what do you do in your business? What is your business? And can you sum it up in one sentence? And during that time when we was putting people on the moon, everyone would say in NASA, well, what do you do? And it doesn't matter whether you were emptying the bins or sweeping the floors. Well, I put a man on the moon.
Yeah.
But they most probably can't or wouldn't say that now because it's been so long since the fact that all those staff have changed. So, they're looking for that next milestone, which of course is to put people on the moon again. But so I wonder whether that's a subject that would inspire people to get into modelling or to start remodelling again.
Probably when it's closer to actually humans doing it than
Yeah.
possibly so. But I just don't feel the excitement that it used to be.
No.
I've met some of these people. I've been very lucky in my life to have
Yeah.
met a few of these guys, and their way they speak about the 60s and early 70s at NASA, it was like being a film star.
Yeah.
In fact, better than being a film star because there were so few of them, and the whole buzz around the thing was just insane. Whereas a lot of them look around their offices now and go, "This is an office building. It's just, because it's got NASA over the top. It's an office." And it's people on computers doing stuff, and they don't have. JPL does, because that's where they build the planetary probes. They have this feel of exploration and excitement, and they do astonishing things. But a lot of the people in other sectors, they are building towards this wonderful thing, but I don't think they have the same. Maybe it's not the political inertia of the day as well. The famous Kennedy speech, and sort of laying down the gauntlet against an opposition, as you say, a race. It was a proper race, an ideological Cold War race, and I don't think that buzz is there for the taxpayer.
I think it's a different buzz. You're talking governments here. We're talking private enterprises, and everybody's watching what's going on. For me, we're going a bit off key with the scale modelling,
good to see those Falcon heavies. Come back.
Yeah. Look, I'm going to see Tim Peake in I think the only place I get tickets was Cardiff. He's sold out. Tim Peake is sold out. I've read, the guy who sang, I can't remember what his name is now, I just had it on top of my tongue, but he was Commander, Colonel, but he's played the guitar in space and sung David Bowie's song, I forget what it's called, but he regularly, every single week, he's going around America talking about his time on the space station, to sold out, auditoriums all over. I think there's that's him. Yeah. There is definitely an underlying current of excitement, because what gets developed for space ultimately improves our lives down here on the Earth.
Yeah, well, we have to hope that's the case. But just one last thing on the space thing. When you see those Falcon rockets come back down and they land, their legs come out and they land on those pads.
And no one else can do that.
All that ship that's just bobbing about out there, and you sort of think, wow, okay, that is clever. Yeah. That gets me excited.
When it comes down on PS I Love You, the drone ship's called PS I Love You. Like that. But that's the beauty of it. The Indian and the Japanese rockets, they'll just come crashing back. They won't land. So already he's made it so much cheaper. These rockets are going 20 times. That's Starlink. Yeah. They're going up and down, up and down. I'm really excited. I'm not a huge fan of Mr. Elon Musk, but I think he's got the right heart in it. He wants to see us multi-planetary, and like everything, what happens on a Formula 1 car ends up being in our own cars. What happens in space is now, good. It does make our lives better.
I wonder. Changing the subject now, then. So I wonder what would inspire people next to get into modelling. Is it we've covered space off. What would, if it was something really different, what would it be?
I think if the internet went down and there was no more internet, there was no more trolling, people would actually go back to building model kits or jigsaw puzzles and stuff.
Board games.
If Netflix was gone, that's what we'd do, wouldn't it? We'll go back to the...
And Stuart, you'll be the only one doing anything, because we couldn't do our build videos. You can still publish on paper and deliver. So we'll be knocking on your door for jobs. All of us. There'll be about 10,000 YouTubers besieging your office. I can make that.
Do you know what? It's
horrific, isn't it?
I think it's subject matter is a big thing for me, and so I've been buying quick builds at Christmas for Christmas Secret Santas, because these people really will be into building a model, but I know of 3 people that I have given them a quick build of a sports car, and they've gone off and bought a proper scale model just to see. Now.
But that's one of the reasons why we touched on this earlier, Gary, when you arrived. But the new quick build tanks, the Tiger one. Thank you.
They're the best thing you guys have launched for a very, very long time, in my opinion, because the tracks work. If nothing else, it's because you can literally put it together, no glue, no nonsense, and run it up and down. Yeah. And that is brilliant. It's good engineering. It's excellent design. It's a 1/35th scale, so it's the most common vehicle scale there is, but it actually works. And
Well,
if you want to get someone into modelling vehicles, that's a brilliant first step. I love that and the Tiger, obviously.
When we had the design meeting for this, it was all about, you know, if we see people making quick build first and going into modelling, then it has to have some synergy to modelling, and whether that's scale, subject matter, whether it's what moves, how it builds, and that's ultimately how the team upstairs got to this. And my only thing really was the scale and working tracks, because I think that makes it.
Totally. That's what tanks are all about, working tracks.
And then
that clattery sound
adds so much playability
totally.
to it that you know, if little Jimmy or whoever sat there making one of those next to their father or mother, or making an actual 35th scale model kit, then there's loads of techniques that can be shared across it as well. And you know, if they want to primer this and then start painting it up, I know there's a Jonathan Mock at the moment on YouTube is taken one of these, he's glued it together, which is obviously not what they're designed to do. He's filled in the little gaps, and then he's starting to paint it up and weather it and everything. That's great. I mean, that's taking it from one extreme to a completely new level. But if you want to go and test your weathering skills on something, then you don't want the time to go and build an actual 35th scale model kit, then maybe it's something like this, but not what it was designed to do from the outset, but just a spin off. And I certainly hope that these inspire people to get back into modelling of any age. I was very fortunate enough, and thank you very much to the team down at Tank Museum Bovington the other weekend. I was very fortunate to go and see the Tiger 1 run, and the amount of kids down there that were coming away with these actually, and all sorts of different model kits, obviously Airfix model kits, but other manufacturers as well. And you just thought, yeah, okay, all you need was a little nudge, an invitation to an event to see some vehicles running around, and that's inspired you to go and start modelling or restart modelling. The air shows, we don't have the air shows like we used to these days, and we certainly don't have the RAF and the Armed Forces like we used to, and I wonder whether that, because of that, we lack the inspiration that kids would have had, people would have had, but what takes its place?
Well, you just remind me that people are saying that nowadays we look at the Lightning and we've just released it, but I think people are saying, why is there so much World War II stuff and so much like Cold War stuff? Because we were banging out different planes and
there was so much of it.
There was so much, and that's why, you know, let's say you've released your Lightning now. By the way, best starter set I think Airfix have ever done, and I mean that. I would give that to anyone over the age of 8 to build
until the end of the month when we release the lifeboat.
Yeah, I don't know about lifeboat, but the stuff for ease, that was more simpler than the Spitfire. Seriously, bang. That's why, you know, we're not excited as much with the planes because there's not much new stuff coming through. But when you go back over the years, you know, was it 26? It was more than that, was it? 26 different planes came out over the 4 years.
Huge.
And that's just England, isn't it? I think it was. The different marks and everything.
Also, a lot of them are preserved and are flying.
Yeah.
You know, when you get to sort of era of the other Lightning, English Electric Lightning, things are so complex and you need so much sign-off by the Civil Aviation Authority because they're no longer military aircraft that it's almost impossible to get any of these flying. So people just don't see them unless they go to, say, an engine run-up day at Bruntingthorpe or whatever. But, you know, going to most regional air shows or going to Bournemouth or Eastbourne, whatever, to see things, you're going to see warbirds, warbirds, and you're going to see what the RAF can spare to fly by and show off. And that's why there's so little around.
Yeah, that's what I was trying to get to. Yeah,
as you know, you're never going to see a Vulcan flying again. You're never going to see a Victor flying again.
If you want to see
when we grew up, you could see them.
I don't think they're flying now.
No, they had a fatal accident. They shut down.
And actually, one of them has come up to the UK. It was put in a 40-foot container and shipped up.
There's one in America being returned to flight because they've got different rules in America. You can have it as an experimental aircraft, and it's got different safety regulations. So yeah, so there would be one flying passengers, in fact, in America. So,
They are.
but you know,
save you pocket money.
you just don't see these things anymore. So
No,
a lot of
no,
these things
I
don't
just-
see them in the air.
I think because there was so much change back then, there was so much for people to. Oh, it's new! It's new! Oh, we've got to have a look at this. Nowadays, I mean, the jets coming into service now, they're going to be in service for 20 odd years, so the change is going to be a lot slower.
That's right.
And so, when people are looking for subjects that are going to get them into the Hobbits, well, what were the lots of, and what was really different to now? And oh, there's all this stuff. You know, you look at the US Navy in the 1950s. They seemed to have. It seemed to be that a carrier would sail with one batch of aircraft on one cruise. They'd come back at the end of it. No, these are the new ones.
Yeah.
But I mean, perennial favourites are always going to be something like the Red Arrows. You know, on the starter set for that. We've had the new lifeboat built, and I'm sorry, but I think the F-35 is about to be supplanted.
Well, for
Because
ease of build,
For ease of build.
you think that
it's-
lifeboat's going to be easier to build than that F-35B?
You would be surprised at how easy. and
Really?
how- and
'Cause
how
I
We
don't-
have to get it out of the box so you can
Oh,
have a look
it's-
after the
it's-
video
it's-
mods. But,
Because as I said, you know,
the railings are one piece.
I get that. I just when I look at it,
The amount of interest I have since being back.
Yeah.
I've never known a kit to have as much interest as the lifeboat starter set. That just we didn't really expect. I mean, we when we release new products and we spend all that time and money into design and tooling and everything, you know, you have a very good business case that supports it. Of course you do, but you know, and that lifeboat does. But the interest has just been sublime, and I wonder if that's because there's a regular TV show. It's Saving Lives at Sea. It's because so many people are so passionate about what they do because of the TV show, and because so many people are affected by it. We are an island nation that you know, so many people have been touched by the RNLI.
Also, I think that people understand it doesn't have government funding,
No.
and some of the money from each sale goes to them.
Absolutely.
So it's a way of donating money to them as well. I think that's a very, very good
Yeah.
thing. And people are getting behind that as well. That's that proper support way of supporting the RNLI is excellent.
We had we actually had the test shot built. The guy came down to the Model World live show, and his end of the table was just people wanting to see this.
Yeah.
So they were seeing what was on the Airfix stand, and when they were told that there was a built one to the other end of the hallway, off they went.
Yeah.
So I mean, we're looking forward to that. That's in our latest issue, so I'm quite pleased with that.
That's due out at the end of the month. It might end up. We was due a container to arrive today, and found out this morning that no, it's not arriving until next week now. So I say the end of the month. It could be the beginning of June, but and we are now going to produce a decal sheet that goes alongside it as well. That has all the 50 names and numbers and bits and pieces on it for those lifeboats.
something I asked
currently
for, you've
out
actually
there.
fulfilled for me. Thank you very
Oh,
much.
well, we try. We aim to
I asked
please.
for it.
Moz.
I said, well, can I have one? Yeah, I'll do it. You
That's
said,
it, though.
that's it.
You're not allowed to ask for anything else.
That's it. I'm
That's-
not going to ask
that's-
anything more.
That's it.
I've got the
But,
decal sheet,
that always
that's
makes me
it.
laugh, though, when you're at a model show and someone says, "Can you do this?" And I already know it's on the list and it's already happening.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, 2 weeks, and then 2 months time they meet you and they go. I said to you to do
Yeah.
this, didn't I? And
Yeah.
you've gone off and done it.
Done
Yes,
it,
mate.
yeah.
No,
Exactly, yeah.
But that does happen though. You know, the
Yeah.
ferret came from a product from a consumer suggestion, and we went off and the timing was right, and we went off and done that, and that did so well. So from inspiring.
But that to me proves that there is a want for stuff Northern Ireland.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
That proved the point.
There was
didn't it?
loads of people
Yeah.
actually that said that I'm an aircraft modeler. I don't normally do armour, but that ferret's just that ferret's just got me a little bit. And
Yeah,
whether
yeah.
that's because it was in the news a lot, you saw them running around, because you see so many of them now in private hands, of course, because I think they cost about 15 grand to own and to buy, and then running them around. They're fairly simple things to work on, but. Yeah, I want. There's obviously a place in people's hearts for ferrets, but
And the Katie ambulance did the same thing.
Yeah.
yeah, true.
I think that was probably the first vehicle I ever made in a proper kit of a vehicle I ever
That-
made, and I thought, actually, this is really good fun.
They of course had the film connotation which we won't mention.
Unofficially.
We won't mention.
We'll mention
this,
it now.
in this video at all. But
Yeah.
oh, brilliant. What's next on the hit list for you guys? I'm not going to ask you because you know some stuff and he's not allowed to say. So
Of course. Bulldog, when I get it.
Ouch.
Liberator is in production, slowly in production. The Bulldog when it comes out. So
Yeah.
I love those interwar biplanes.
It's
More
a
of those,
It's a
please.
beautiful thing. Yeah.
Get them onto making more of those. Some other kits from some other manufacturers I won't talk about. And that's it really. Just a few D-Day related things, obviously, because of the time of year. One particular project's got in mind. But other than that, just bits and pieces. But when things come out, I try and build them.
Bulldog is on its way.
Excellent.
It's very close. The
I was,
Bulldog.
I was
and the
hoping you were
Chinook.
going to say, and by the way, Gary, here's your one.
Here's yours, but no, I can't do that today. But
Or do I have to go down the docks where
yeah,
it's
well,
docking in a few days' time?
I wasn't going to say that.
Yeah,
But
The container.
wait for the containers.
area.
Yeah, don't hang around the docks, Gary. You get a different name.
Not again. Not again.
No.
Yeah.
Not after that order from the judge.
Yeah, do you know a poem about squirrels? But anyway, that's a
Yeah.
Blackadder joke if you've ever.
Yeah.
So yeah, Bulldog and the Chinook are both currently on the route. But how about you, Moz? What's next on the hit list that you haven't
The
been
one
able to
that
get
you
hold
say
of?
you're going to release in September, I'm really excited about. So,
What we're releasing in September?
is it September, October? That's the one. I think I'll be really looking forward to build. I don't know. I'm just thinking, so is that winding you up? What have I said to him on the phone? Hang on. No. Yeah. Definitely the Chinook for me.
Yeah.
Got to be the Chinook. That's, holidaying in North Devon and seeing them all over, coming over from Wales and stuff was a big thing. But we just, I think in the 80s, you see them regular in the sky in the 80s and 90s growing up. So that's the one for me.
Yeah.
Definitely.
Yeah.
I can't think of anything else. So the Bulldog, it looks stunning. Don't get me wrong. But if people ask why they're bringing out a Bulldog, just look at it. I've seen the boot, but it's stunning. Yeah. But would it be something I would want to build now when I've got other things I want to build? That's the trouble you get.
We was talking yesterday about you just taking. You had a bit of a difficult moment, didn't you? And then you sort of just went back home. And you lifted the lid off of a model kit, and you just sat there and you just went through all the parts.
Yeah.
You didn't build it. You just went
the
through all
B1B
the parts.
Lancer.
Yeah.
An old kit, and I was just like wow. And that's something that it just like clears your mind, and you're seeing details and stuff. Think, well, this could be a really good kit. But yeah, there's so much, Yeah, I buy the kits because I like to review them and I like to have them in my stash. But you got to be in the right frame of mind to build it as well.
Yeah. That lifeboat though, I'm sure as soon as that lifeboat comes out, you will want to be all over that.
I understand that, but I said at this time, after not building a lifeboat, and I have given away a few F-35B kits, and one other thing I also give to people if I give them that kit is a flat brush for the humble paint. Yeah. There's got to be a big, the flat, use the brush that's in it, but for that final coat, the wide brush, and honestly, I've got really good results. Not airbrush results, hairy stick results from using that Humber acrylic in the pots.
Yeah, just thin it down a little bit, and then.
We've thinned it down a lot. You keep painting it. It stretches. So yeah, it's a lot better now. I think it was just because they were coming in dry. That was a problem with them. But now the pots
We've sorted that.
We've sorted that issue with it. Yeah, it is what it is.
How about you, Stu? What are you looking forward to?
Well,
of the stuff you can talk about.
I've not built a lifeboat, so I want a lifeboat. I've got two long-term projects, which is the Stuka, the big Stuka, and I've got a large helicopter to build from a different manufacturer. But after that, next on my hit list is actually something for me, and it's something that is very, very old. I'm not sure you can get it anymore, but it's the Royal Sovereign.
Oh wow!
Really?
I managed to get one. I've been hunting for one for many, many moons. I finally managed to get one, and it's a decent price too.
Oh, that's even
I'm
better.
not paying silly prices for it.
What, eBay money? Yeah.
Yeah.
That's how you judge whether it's a release of vintage classic or not.
We do.
Let's upset the second-hand
We do
traders now.
we do
Let's
like-
release it as
We
a
do like
vintage
upsetting
classic.
those people on eBay. But,
That bomb bug's still there for 350
Well, that's-
quid.
that's-
And it's
how
like
much?
350.
yeah.
Oh,
That bomb
But
bug.
that's an original though.
It's an original.
So
yeah.
people, there'll be people
Yeah.
out there that want to pay that for an original.
I saw that many years ago with the Saturn 1B.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Do you know the other one?
One went for about 90 quid, and about 3 days later, Airfix reissued it at 15.
Yeah.
Oh, I chuckled.
I wish I wish I retailed that bomb bug when we brought it out the other year for 300 quid because
Yeah. We would have bought it as well.
yeah.
No, we wouldn't have. But no, it's like the other one, the Sam's missile set. That's
I'd-
jumping up in price.
Yeah.
As soon as you say you haven't got that tool in, that's it. The
Yeah,
price
yeah,
goes up.
yeah.
The is it the free enterprise?
Free enterprise.
Yeah, that's missing, isn't it? But they go for good money. But yeah, the bomb bug was a really good. And also the beauty about your vintage classic is that you release them at a point and that's it. You won't release any more. You'll wait for another cycle, won't you, before you release it again?
Yeah.
So, but yeah, what vintage classics are this year? I can't remember which ones you got out this year.
Hamden.
That's it. That's the only one, though, isn't it?
No,
Hamden's coming up.
P51,
Oh,
big
24
P51,
scale one.
Yeah.
Obviously the famous Roy Cross artwork, and
You got the Harrier test.
Yeah, the P1127
P11, yeah,
Kestrel or
P1127.
whatever.
I'm glad you guys remembering this because I don't want to say the wrong thing.
Ajax,
So
I think.
was it Belvedere?
The,
Of course, yeah.
Thank you, Mike.
That's on order.
I've still got that in original box at home.
The figures, colour party.
You can't use
yeah.
figures. Can't use figures. It's got to be models.
Right.
Anyway.
It's been a pleasure, guys. Thank you very much. Thanks very much for coming in today
Yeah, our
and,
pleasure.
and just chatting. And hopefully our viewers have enjoyed it. I'm sure they have. But before we go, don't forget to like and subscribe to the Airfix YouTube channel. That all helps and it inspires us and the team behind the cameras to keep on pumping out content for you guys. And we're always looking at the comments as well. So if there's anything you particularly want us to go and talk about, then let us know. Gary, a plug for your channel.
Thank you. Do. Go on. Oh, no, you want me to?
Yeah, go on.
Oh, right. Gary's stuff on YouTube. Every Monday we have Monday Matters, which is just news and views, and then occasional other things. And as usual, don't forget, subscribe, but Imperial thumbs up on the like button,
Thumbs up.
because every like counts. Thank you.
Moz, what's your channel? How can people find you?
Yeah, I'm Mod6510 Models, and you can find me on YouTube, Instagram, everywhere, TikTok. What's the latest one?
X.
Threads. I'm on Threads
Threads.
now, which I don't recommend. But yeah, I'm everywhere. Mondays we do an Airfix and chill night where we get modellers come and talk about certain subjects.
What
in
time does
modelling.
that start?
That's 8 o'clock till 10 o'clock every Monday without fail. I think we've done 50 now. I think we've done. Yeah, we've been going over a year now, and we do get special guests like Dale on occasionally. Yeah, so it's good.
Yeah,
it's really
cool.
good.
And you're doing lives now occasionally as well, aren't you? So
Twice a week. First Thursday and third Tuesday of every month. Yeah. Again, 8 till 10.
Yeah,
And
go
it's
on
just there for people to come and chat and catch up with things.
put some comments in the
Totally.
Yeah.
Yeah.
stuff.
Yeah. Ask questions. Try and answer them.
And Stu, how can people find your good work? It's all in good magazine shops and bits and pieces.
All good magazine shops.
Scale Model World.
We're always at Scale Model World, but also you can get it as the Key Model World site.
Yep.
So you either subscribe there or buy individual issues. Plus we've got web exclusive articles and builds on there for everyone to see.
Yeah, thanks very much. Thanks very much, guys. Thanks for coming in.
My pleasure.
And
Thank you,
you, the viewer. And we'll see you again soon for another Sprue Talk. Thank you. Cheers. Bye.
Bye bye.
Thank you.